Okay, call the meeting of the Polk City Park Commission to order. Those in attendance,
We'll do roll call. Jablonski,
here.
Converse,
Here.
Naples, here. McCann, here. Holland,
Here.
Turner,
Here.
H.
Here.
Right. First order of business is to approve the minutes from February 5th. We have copies in front of us. Anybody have an adjustment or just making a motion? Need to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve the minutes has been made. All those in favor?
Aye.
Or do we do roll call?
No, that's just yeah, you're good.
And we have two new members here. Gail Turner. Gail, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us about your involvement in Polk City.
Mm-hmm. And I will keep it to less than half an hour because I know we're
Okay.
anxious to wrap up tonight. So I moved to Polk City almost exactly 20 years ago and retired and thought, I need to get more involved. I've done tons of volunteering throughout my life. This is my first time with like a city related thing like this. So I love the recreation in Polk City. I think it's just, this place is great. So I'm very excited to get started, help out where I can.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then our other new member is Lindsay Page. Lindsay,
Yeah, hi everybody. My husband and I have lived here for almost 3 years now in Polk City. We moved here because of the recreation. Good vibes here in Polk City. I am a naturalist with Polk County Conservation, so I am right over the bridge at Jester Park where I teach environmental education across Polk County. So I'm very passionate about conserving our natural resources and getting people outside. So yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this commission to help our community be a better place.
welcome. And the next item is audience, which we have no.
No, sir, no audience. Oh, I'm sorry, I goofed on the, I'm just noticing I had 2 number 6s.
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Fixed it.
Do you want to go on? Can we go to number 7, and then if the number 6 person shows up before the end, is that or do we have to make a motion to make that change?
Yeah, I would go ahead, make a motion to move, let's call it 6B, for the time being. I would move it to after number 9. I did just get a text, she is on her way. But yeah, I would make a motion to move it to the end of the agenda items before reports and particulars.
Okay, need a motion for that?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So item number 7 is the community room fee structure. We have that in front of us. Jason, you want to talk about that?
Yes, sir. So in front of you there are 2 sheets. One has some green and red. The other one has solid green. So before you tonight is a consideration to recommend to council a fee structure for the new community room that'll happen just across the street in the new City Hall project. A little bit of background on this. This does replace the old community room that was absorbed by the fire department when they did their renovation. They were in extreme need for training and living quarters, so the space went to a really good cause. But now next door, very exciting, we're going to have a community room that is just shy of 3,000 square feet. It's going to be very multi-use. Its intent is to act as a community room, act as council chambers for all, council commissions, board of adjustment. It'll be a good space for training for fire, police, any other city department that should need it, and also a good space for parks and recreation programming. Tonight we're going to look at the square footage of the room, like I said, just below 3,000 when you factor in the community room space and the catering kitchen that will accompany it with a renter that comes to use it. So the first one I have is what I felt were about the best 7 comparables rentals in the Des Moines metro, based on square footage and on capacity. The capacity next door will be 183. And so as you can see, what I did, rentals city to city vary wildly. Some people will do it by the hour, some will do half-day rentals like we do here. Others will do 6-hour rental, 8-hour rental, kind of all across the board. I'm quite partial to the way that we have it with the half-day and the full-day rentals. So what I did, I extrapolated what each community has for like a half-day per hour fee. I then used that number to make a 7-hour rental and an 8-hour rental. Those would be the 3 green columns you see there. Knowing that our rental options next door will be an 8 to 3, a 4 to 12, and then the red columns would come in for a full day rental. That would be 8 a.m. to 12 p. 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. 16-hour rental. Think weddings for something like that. So the first green column I want to bring your attention to is the average half-day rental per hour fee, a little over $62 per hour. So a 7-hour rental would net $435, 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., just shy of $500. Full day, you typically will see this. A full day, you will see about a 10 to 15% discount per hour, just kind of the bulk, buy in bulk savings. So the average for those communities goes down to just a penny short of $56 per hour. So that 16-hour rental for that wedding event or a big family reunion, $895.84. So this was the information gathered to really kind of come up with what staff's recommendation would be for adding this rental to our little portfolio. So I guess I should take a step back. You know, this is at City Hall, but all rentals in Polk City kind of funnel through the Parks and Rec department. So we'll be adding this to our 2 open air shelters and the Miller Park Shelter House that we rent out. So adding a 4th rentable space. If you would go to the next page where I have a proposed structure, what you can see here is what I've really focused on is kind of prime time hours that you expect a rental. That would be Friday PM, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Internally right now, I think we're still looking at how Monday through Thursday look in this new space, just knowing that Mondays by and large will be full of public meetings, and we'll see what training and Parks and Rec programming looks like for that Tuesday through Thursday. I think we'll have an opportunity once we really see how a schedule comes together, if there is like an option for more during the week rentals. But for now, this would be like the prime time rentals. And I've been getting quite a few phone calls from interested parties, graduation parties. So I think it really behooves us to get some numbers out so people can start planning for later this year and the first part of 2025. So with what staff brought together here, we'll start with the top line there is a Saturday, Sunday half-day rental. It would be an 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Why we chose 8 a.m. is that's just normal opening hours for the facility. So we wanted to keep that consistent 7 days a week. What I'm recommending, $350. That breaks down to $50 per hour. So you can see we're below the average of the metro-wide. The next step up would be a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday PM half-day rental. So 8 hours, 4 p.m. to midnight, $400, again, $50 an hour. And the big option, Saturday, Sunday, 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., looking at a proposal of $700. That breaks down to $43.75 per hour. Again, on the shallower side of that, $55.99. How we have handled non-resident renters with our others is a 25 to 30% increase over residents, and we oftentimes will round that to the nicest exact number. So you can see here a difference of 75 for the half-day rental morning, $100 for the afternoon, and $150 for an all-day rental. I would also propose a damage deposit of $500, fully refundable. If you take care of the space, you get it all back. Just knowing with this being a brand new facility, everything is new, $500 won't go tremendously far, but it will help, with a few chairs, table here or there. So, we don't want that number to be too big and scary. That is in line with what other communities do. Just several $100s on a damage deposit that is fully refundable. With that, I'll take any questions you guys have. Sorry, that was a lot.
Thanks for all of that. Would you ever consider just like hourly rentals too, or like maybe some organizations that might just need to have meeting space or anything like that? And then also, second question, would there be any sort of discount to nonprofits?
Yeah, so that is something that we're taking into account right now. Currently at our facility, Miller Park, nonprofits do get to use it for free. We haven't really discussed that too much internally. I would anticipate doing something very similar. Yeah, as for the hourly, truthfully, it's just become almost best practice to do like the half day, full day, just so you're not, really it comes into play if you have 2 half-day rentals, 8 to 3, 4 to 12, staff, usually myself, knows the hour that I need to go in and check and make sure the first rental left it good before the next renter comes in. And if I do need to do any work, if they didn't leave it, that does give me time to do that. Whereas if we had 3 or 4 multi-hour, it could get tricky just making sure that we have staff for the turnover.
Jason, did you tell us, I'm sorry if you did, what did it cost to rent the old community? Did you already mention that?
No.
Or are we just not comparing it because it's just such a different facility?
More or less, yes. The facility itself was quite smaller. It was under, I want to say it was right around 1,600 square feet. It had very low ceilings. It was acoustically a nightmare. It was connected to the fire department, so you would have a wedding reception and then sirens would go off. So it wasn't the world's greatest rentable space.
So, okay.
So no, really kind of looking at the comparables.
Of these other cities instead.
Correct. I didn't see it as an apples to apples comparison.
Well, then my question is, when I look at this list from other cities, it varies wildly from $25 an hour up to $100. So I just wanted to make sure that like what we're coming up with of this 60 an hour, 50 an hour is truly something people will think is okay. And I haven't done rentals of this type ever to even have any guess on that myself, but I just wanted to bring that up because these numbers are just, there's a big variance.
No, absolutely agree. So, some of these I can touch on a little bit. I'm very familiar with the Urbandale, having worked for the city of Urbandale and dealt with those too. Those are the top one, that Urbandale community room. Honestly, I find that is about the best comparable in the metro. So square footage, it's almost right on. Same with capacity. Number of tables, a connected catering kitchen. It's a space within a space, just kind of like this community room will be within City Hall. So it's not a standalone space like some others. I think you do pay more of a premium if it's a standalone space. Kind of like the Urbandale Giovanetti shelter. Gorgeous rental space down by 86th and Douglas, but a standalone. So you're not going to have anybody wandering around other parts of the building. I can say the Waukee Community Center, that's really the outlier on the low end. I kind of know that space as well. That square footage does include their restrooms, whereas with the others it doesn't. So when you see the capacity is nearly half of what we're proposing here, I think that reflects the reduced cost there.
Right. It's not really that comfortable. Okay.
Yeah, and truthfully, I can't speak much to Huxley or West Des Moines. That number makes sense for West Des Moines to me, but the Huxley one kind of blows me away. No disrespect to our folks, our friends up north, but I'm not sure why that number exists. But that is an outlier that definitely inflates that average up above 60.
That's helpful.
Well, we have an alcohol policy is, and I know at Urbandale, this was a couple years ago, so it may have changed by now. But I remember we approved that if you were gonna have a wedding with alcohol, you also had to pay for a, off-duty, police officer.
Mhm.
Is that gonna be in the policy or?
Yes, yep. So, again, tonight we're just kind of looking at the fees, but yeah, when we look at like the user agreement, we will have a section in there for alcohol. So
Okay.
alcohol will be, not available, we're not gonna be making it available, but it is an option. You can have a party with alcohol. Depending on the number and what will be served, I always have a conversation with our chief of police, as to whether an off-duty officer would be required. We kind of have that same situation with the Miller Park Shelter House currently. You know, if we were gonna have a wedding reception with a keg and 100 people, you'd see an off-duty officer up there. If it's kind of a bridal shower, 10 gals with mimosas, we've typically not had an off-duty officer there, so. But yes, there will be an alcohol policy in place.
And then the other one that I remember from Urbandale, they had to, because due to the popularity, particularly the May dates with graduation parties, they had to institute a date, and I think it was October 1st, that you could reserve for the next year. Will you consider that, or that within, that in terms of once you're online of having a date for reserving for a year in advance?
Yep, and I would probably follow what we do for Miller, where it's 365 days. So it's kind of an evolving target. So, and I think the community, at least the mothers trying to get graduation parties, know that late May, I'm getting phone calls and emails about availability. So it seems to have worked in Polk City so far, just that 365 days in advance.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I think it sounds fair, $50. At Jester Park, the Nature Center, you can rent out all the classrooms. It's 175 capacity, and it's $75 an hour. So, but you're out at the Nature Center with the restrooms and everything. So, like you're saying, if it's a standard, so.
Yeah, and I should mention too, how the new building is going to be configured. This will be on the main floor. So, you'll kind of have like a little atrium lobby. That'll obviously be, I'm going to keep using the word wedding just because I hope we'll have quite a few weddings there, because I think it's going to be a beautiful space. But, you'll be able to have some flowers, some signage, some welcome signage in that lobby. There's restrooms off to the side that aren't included in this square footage. So this is truly usable space: banquet tables, dance floor, DJ, serving line. All that, so.
Would someone like to make a motion on what Jason has proposed?
I'll make a motion to accept what is proposed.
Do you want us to verbal, or do you want this one to be?
Yeah, why don't we go down the line?
Okay.
Aye.
No, Darren, you wanna-
Yeah, aye.
do you need to call the names, or do we just go down the line?
If you'd like to, who seconded it?
I did.
I would start with Gail,
Okay.
then I would just go down the line.
Do I need to call?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Gail?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Tim? Yep. Kelly?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
So, assuming at another meeting, then you're gonna come, or with the lease agreement, or is that something that the city takes care of and we don't have any?
No, once we draft that, I will bring that by and let you guys review that as well.
Okay. All right. All right, next item is item 8, summarize the cost recovery report.
Yeah, so for those of you that are used to this, here's another 3 months of programming. For those of you that have never seen one of these before, I like to break every year into quarters 1 through 4, and just kind of give you guys a snapshot of what our recreation programming looked like for those 3 months. I kind of always break it into youth, adult, and senior programming, and I give you an idea of the participants we saw and expense revenue and kind of a cost recovery. For those of you that are new, our department here kind of molds our cost recovery after Green Play LLC, kind of very specialized in Parks and Rec and nonprofit cost recovery. So as I go through these, I try to always put the very high level kind of in the notes of what the goal was. So for instance, in youth programming in a quarter, you'd always like to see somewhere to 70 to 100% plus. So in quarter one of 24, we had a cost recovery of 110. So I'm quite pleased with that. And then breaking it down a little bit more internally, our Dinky Dunkers, that's our kindergarten basketball program that we just started this year, seeing those a little bit below 100, totally fine for something that's really a big community benefit of that first-time basketball player trying to get the retention year to year. And then youth basketball for boys and girls, first and second grade combined, just a little bit over breaking even. So really happy with that program. As a whole, we had over 200 kids K through 2 for basketball. That was about right in line with what the Comet Basketball Club told me I'd expect when I worked with them to take over those 3 age groups. So really happy with how that turned out. On here, dodgeball is always a really funny outlier when you see cost recovery like that. And I always like to just make a mention that I'm currently not being charged to use the gym space I use for that. So I know one day when that's not the case, it will be a truer reflection. But for right now, yeah, I mean, it's a great program with a really low per hour contact cost. So it always fills up too with 24 to 28 kids. So really happy with that. Adult programming, our goal is to always get above 100% cost recovery, see a little bit of revenue. So we did a winter bags tournament at the Legion in January, well attended. We had 12 teams for a first time tournament, so happy with that, 134%, very pleased with that. And then on the back, nothing to report, but senior programming would be there as well. Nothing was those 3 months. Usually we do trips, little day trips for seniors. You can imagine January, February, March, cold, icy, so typically not our heavy time for doing those kind of day trips. But when we do those cost recoveries, we like to see between 30, 40, 50%. So we're subsidizing that. But again, like the community benefit of those folks that are on a fixed income, recreation is hard to come by. It's obviously good mental and physical exercise for folks to go out and socialize. So our next one will have some programming in there, and I'd be happy to go more in depth with that when we have some actual examples.
Did you see any spend with the basketball that we'll be able to not have to make next year? Like with basketball and thing like that? Was that something that was already owned by the city?
Correct. So I had to buy all the balls, all that, and I'm hopeful. So I'm trying to get 3 seasons of life out of those balls. So the cost of balls was divided 3 into the cost recovery. So yeah, but we'll have shirts every year. We'll have gym use every year. So I anticipate that expense being very similar year to year.
You don't need a,
No, that was purely informational for you guys if you have any questions.
item number 9 is update on the regional park pre-campaign process.
Me again. So right now we are in the small group meetings and the one-on-one meetings. So for our new folks that are here, the regional park project, a couple of years ago, the city purchased 57 acres of land east of Big Creek Elementary with the intent on developing some sort of regional park with athletic, passive recreation amenities all in one. We're working with Renaissance Group to do a feasibility study right now to see what and how Polk City would support a project like that. So right now we're going through the one-on-ones where RGI is kind of compiling what they're hearing from the community in terms of a capital campaign, how much people would give out of their own pockets, what a possible bond referendum might look like. And they'll come to us in May with a recommendation of, we think this is the dollar amount that Polk City would support. This is our recommendations for a timeline. So we're looking for that report again in May. That'll probably be a work session with council, I would assume. And then we'll obviously report back to you guys to the findings of that.
So that's not something, they wouldn't come here to present that to us. That's something that goes directly with the city.
I think at this point, yes, it would probably go straight to council for their consideration.
So the meetings are still happening? Are you still needing people to host meetings? What's the status?
Yes, I've gotten just enough people, I'll say, to host. The more, the better. I mean, right now, really, this is purely like information. We're just trying to share this project and kind of the gravity of it with the community and see what the response is. So, the small group meetings are intended to really be informational. We have a small group host. I kind of come in as the subject matter expert, for lack of better terms, and discuss the project, the proposal, what we're testing exactly. And then based on the feedback and the questions, we're hoping that some folks out of that would be willing to give up about 30 minutes of their time for a one-on-one where RGI will ask a little bit more deep questions, minus the city staff of, would you support this? Why or why not? And just all of the facets of what a decision like that could mean to a resident.
All right. So now we're going to do item 6B, which is the presentation from.
Do I need to stand at the podium?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Make sure you introduce yourself.
Yes. Yes, I am Jessica Fowl. I'm the president of the Polk City Friends of the Parks. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and our goal is just to fundraise for the park system. And so any money that we fundraise for, we give back directly to the parks. So we have raised this year, so we started in 2 Januaries ago, so 22, right? Yes. And so the first year we raised about $10,000, and we did the Leonard Park shade structure. That was the first, we kind of came about that because Jason gave us some ideas of what he's heard in the community of like, these are some, general ideas. What would you guys want to go for? And so that was our first main goal. And so then from there we did the Leonard Park shade structure. We helped with the pocket park the next year. Once that became a need, and we realized that like that money was taking out of Jason's funds to use in other places, we wanted to offset that. So we also did the scoreboard at the soccer baseball fields. We applied for a Tree for Kids grant and planted, I think, 12 trees at the elementary school. We have planted a pollinator patch at Lost Lakes Park. And then this year we also raised enough money to purchase the ice rink that will go at Kiwanis Park. So, so over the last 2 years, we've raised about $46,000 that we've been able to give back to the community and into the parks system. So, basically, how we fundraise those funds the last few years have been through events. We host an Earth Day 5K in April. That gets about 200-ish people to come out to the square. We do the 5K, we do a kids race. Papa's Pizza does a portion of sales. Fender's Brewing did a beer, an event beer for us. So yeah, there's a lot of donations that just come in with that, sponsorships, and then people just hear about what project we're fundraising for and then give us, extra money the day of too. So we've done that, and then in the summertime we do a party in the park.
It's been pretty low key the last few years. First year it was raining and cold. The second year was like 100 degrees. So we don't have the best luck with weather, but we still raise around $600 to $800 from that event, and it's just a free will donation lunch, and that's been donated by Fairway and Quick Star, I believe. They did like chips and stuff for that. And we do like just play at the park and learn about what we do. So, and then in the fall we've done a bike ride with bike, so we call it Biketoberfest, and we do that alongside Fall Fest. And so we've had about 70 to 80 bikers for that, and we have a route that we kind of designate for them, but a lot of bikers just show up and do their own route and just are happy to donate to what we're giving. So. Oh, and we've also did a bike rack too. That was another thing we donated to Lost Lakes Park, the bike rack, and that came out of Biketoberfest funds. So we tried to do like Biketoberfest money went to trails. All the other funds, designate our funds in different ways. And if somebody goes online and wants to donate their funds to a specific project, we allocate that in our QuickBooks system, so that money sits there until we're ready to spend it on the trails or on a pollinator patch, stuff like that. So this year we went into it and we decided that the Miller Park tennis court really needed resurfaced. It's really slick if it gets damp at all. There's lots of cracks and dead spots. If played out there, it's not fun, I would say. So we knew that this was a long time coming. How many years is it old? It's decades old.
Yeah.
The concrete was done, and then a safety surface was laid on top of it, and that was kind of like a Band-Aid for the last 10 years. So it's time. And then just in general, pickleball has become really popular with all ages. It's something that you can do generational, like my grandma likes to play with my son, and so it's just really fun to get all the ages involved in that. And we hope that with the new surface, it'll be safer, and Jason can amp up his park like recreation around that too, and offer more like pickleball camps and tennis things, and then do that for like older generation and younger. Just hits a wide range. Right now there's one pickleball court out there. When we're done, there should be 4. So that would really help out. So, and then along with the Maven Crooks Community Senior Living Center going up at Leonard Park, it's only 0.4 miles away, so it's walkable to that community. So we're hopeful that they donate as well. So we've been putting out feelers to everybody and asking for those donations. So that's what all of our funds from this year's 5K will go to. And then we've been at the farmers market. We also are at the festival, Four Seasons Festival. So we have some ideas for the Four Seasons Festival to really amp up some of the community involvement for this project. So yeah, so going on, so the last 2 years, we kind of were like, the first year we went into events and we're like, what do we want to do? Like, let's have a 5K because that got, taken out of the Four Seasons Festival. So we threw that in and we're like, well, people love to bike, so we're going to throw in a bike ride and let's do a summer party. So we did all 3 of those. We've done those 2 years. This is our 3rd year. And so then this year, as we continue to grow, it just becomes a lot to do 3 events every year. And so we're like, do we grow one event or do we scrap our events and do a bigger, better event? And so that's what we've kind of decided, that next year we're not going to do the 3 little events. We're going to do one main event. It's going to be the party in the park. And then we're trying to maybe encompass the other events and tie it all together. So maybe we'll do a run at one point, a bike ride at one point, everybody comes together for the party in the park, so that our efforts are, used wisely. It takes a lot of volunteer time and hours and behind the scenes stuff to throw 3 events, so this will help that. So yeah, that's our goal for next year. We're trying to still figure out where we do that at. So yeah. What else? So I told my board this last month that I would like them to pick a park because, you know, the idea of like, oh, something new like the regional park is great, and we hope to help with that when we're called to. But for right now, we have a lot of parks in the system, and we don't want to, you know, let them fall to the side. So we want to know what is needed in those parks and how can we make those parks better. So I've asked my board to come with their park in mind and to try to own it and say, you know, these are the things I'd like to see in this park, and so then we can talk about it as a group too, and try to see like what can we do. There's a couple parks that, you know, don't have anything right now, so is there something we can do? Do we plant more pollinator patches? Do we do a walking trail at Doc Simmer? You know, music things that's not in any of our parks right now. So yeah, so those are just ideas. We're kind of just brainstorming the following year. So we would love to hear, you know, ideas from you guys. Like, we're really like we do the events and we fundraise and then give the money away. So, but it's really, we kind of try to brainstorm like, where do we want this money to go? And we do it, you know, try to do it a year in advance of what are we, you know, we'll probably do that at the end of this year of like, what should we raise money for next year? So, and maybe next year is all of these little things in all of the current parks, or maybe it's one big thing. We haven't talked about it yet. So, we would love your input on that though, too. If you guys have any like wants or needs, or, you know, think great ideas, if you want any input in the event, we would love to hear that too. So I'm all ears right now. You want to email me, you can do that too.
Do you, thank you for all your input and everything that you've done for the parks, but do you have a set monthly meeting or quarterly meeting that, like, if any of us wanted to come to, or other people in the community wanted to join in? Because being new to the community myself, I haven't seen, I've been following what Friends of the Park do, but I haven't seen anything about meetings or anything like that.
So our board started out at about 8 people, and now we've grown to 12 board members. We meet once a month. Towards the end of the month, we usually schedule that at our meeting to try to hit everybody's schedule. A lot of us have kids and schedules get a little wild, so yeah. So we don't have a set meeting time or meeting place. We kind of go out in the community, and if it's nice, we do it at the park. So yeah. No one's really asked to come. They could come and sit and listen. You guys are more than welcome to come and sit and listen to a meeting. Yeah. We have an agenda that we discuss every month. We talk about like our funds and, you know, the next event, and so.
And then you're going to be coming here quarterly, you or someone from the Friends, right? Is that?
Yep.
So we
That's
can
the hope going
continue
forward.
the dialogue. And
Yeah. Yep.
that way.
Yeah, either me or Sarah Sarah Hoocher is the vice president. So. Yeah.
What's your email, Jessica?
It's Polk City Friends of the Parks at Gmail. And that might be changing. We're trying to get a Gmail account, Google Suite, so it might be info at blah blah, but until then, that's that's what it is.
Polk City Friends of the Park at
Gmail.
It's kind of long.
It's very long. Yep. Yep. It's hard to be like PC. I don't know. I'm just like, we're just throwing it all in there. But yeah. Any other questions or input or ideas?
Thank you for everything that the group has done. It's kind of exciting about the ice skating pond next year. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit more conducive.
It wouldn't,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have had a lot of skating opportunity this past winter, but
Yeah.
Which I found amazing that you were able to raise the money for it when the winter wasn't, that people weren't saying, why would you want to have an ice rink when you're having all this nice
Yeah.
weather?
Yeah, Kiwanis helped out a lot with that. They were really excited about that project. They applied for a Kiwanis grant, got $1,000 of that grant, so that really boosted it. But everybody else, yeah, that was all community donated, so it was really great to do it so fast and
Thanks, Jeff.
welcome. Thanks.
Item number 10, reports in particular.
We'll start with you.
I got a few things, so if you want to go first.
Okay, I'll just do a few rapid fire ones for you. The summer brochure went live at Leap Day, February 29th, and registration opened for residents March 4th and non-residents March 11th. So we've been open for just under a month, and the response has been great so far. So summer programming looks really well received. So very excited about that. Jess kind of mentioned a project that they had helped work on, but the new scoreboards have been installed at Fields 1 and Field 2 down at the sports complex. We are still waiting to connect power, but the actual unit itself is up in the air, and I think they look pretty sweet. So if you haven't seen them, please drive by. And, again, thank you to the Luana Savings Bank, Kiwanis, and Friends of the Parks for fully funding that entire $9,000 for the two together. And something Darren had asked for at a prior meeting, and I apologize, we didn't have it prepared for tonight. Either in May or June, we're going to review the parkland dedication, looking for a good time when a representative from Snyder and Associates, our city engineer, can come in, kind of help me present on that a little bit. They were around the last time they went through the formula. They're very familiar. They act as engineers for other communities around the metro as well, in some capacity. So they'll be able to really give a more deep dive into a comparison to any particular community. Just kind of see where Polk City stands in relation to our neighbors with what we ask for parkland dedication with new developments. I think that's all I have.
Okay, so I wanted to cover a couple things and really kind of, I realized after we talked, so liaisons rotate, and so not having a March meeting, I don't think we had a January meeting either, right?
We just had February.
So just had one and talked about kind of the second thing I'll bring up here in a second, but realized they didn't really level set on what the liaison does and doesn't do. So with some new folks and try to make this short, but first thing is try to have, I'll be here for this year or have a sub lined up. And the main purpose is to report back on things that you guys have discussed. So we had some really good examples, like the community fee structure, and that will translate pretty directly, I don't know when, to a council item. And so my job would be to say, hey, this passed or this changed or didn't or whatever. So you guys get, when you have a recommending body and you kind of throw it over the fence and want there to be a loop so you guys know how things resolved. It's really natural with planning and zoning. They make a recommendation. Usually the next meeting, it goes to council. And this is a little bit more ambiguous, but that's the idea. And also like with the regional park pre-campaign process, report back to, if it does go the route of the Renaissance group coming to us, for me to come back to you guys and keep that communication loop there. So I will try to proactively do that on parks related items. Obviously, if you guys have questions, where does one thing kind of move too far away from parks? So if you want to dialogue on certain things city related, let's do that too. So feel free to ask questions. What I won't be doing, and I think that it's when you are a recommending body, my opinion is not relevant in this meeting at all. So I'm going to be quiet, and if you've ever seen a council meeting, you'll know how hard that is for me to do that until we get to this point. So I don't want to have any, I want your guys' opinion, and again, mine's not relevant until we get down the road. I've got my opportunity. So if you consciously see me not talking, that's by design, just wanted to bring that up. And the other thing, and I'll try not to get too soapboxy on this, is just make sure that you guys feel empowered with the decisions that you're making and the things that you're working on. So, if there is anything that, why do we do this? Or sometimes there's bureaucratic steps that government entities need to take. And so, if that's getting in the way, and that kind of leads into the secondary topic that I want to make as a rhetorical point now. But we talked last time about really finding the lane of this group. Where does this group, what are they designed to do? And we'll admit that it's evolved marginally and probably not to the extent that it started. When I first got on council, Jason's position didn't exist. We didn't have Friends of the Parks. We've got Arts and Council now, or Arts and Culture, which is semi-parks related. And so what is this entity really driving for? And I'm putting it out there now so you guys can think about that, and I know we have the regional park and maybe a few initiatives that will bubble up and be a thing for a short amount of time, but I really want to get to a spot where there's consistency with that role. You guys can know what to expect year in and year out. If the regional park thing comes or the next thing comes, that's maybe a blip, but there's a baseline. So I would envision doing that in a couple work sessions, hopefully with other members of my council, so you're not relying on me for my version of what we're doing. It's the full group and some staff. And like I said, we can do that as quickly or as methodically as makes sense. So if you guys have thoughts on that, both in the approach to how we decide it or what we decide, let me know. But if I accomplish nothing else as a liaison, I want to make sure we get to a better spot at the end of this year. And I really think one of the things that, obviously we're a growing community, and I think that something that we need to get better, that I need to get better, that the community needs to better, is empowering volunteers as we have a greater need, but as we have also an opportunity where, like a lot of the things that a small town has volunteers for, larger communities staff. And so as you're going through that progression of a smaller community, and I hope you are still considered those, because that's where I appreciate where we're at, is to accentuate and find folks that are passionate about whether it's parks or whatever else, and can feel empowered to affect change in those areas. And I think we're struggling. So I'd like to make sure this group has that confidence in what they're doing, not only because parks are impactful, and you guys both you're sitting up here, so it's a little bit biased, but it's a good reason to move here. And it's an important thing. So want to make sure we get this right, and then can also be an example for others too. So having said all that, I don't know that there have been a ton of parks related items on the council. We've been pretty budget heavy in preparation. The state changed the timing and rules a little bit, so we had our first meeting on the levy rate, and we'll approve the budget here in the second meeting of April. Not explicitly parks related, but obviously there was a brush pile and recycling area decision that's not been the most popular, but I think was at least necessary in the short term. I'm hoping that can change sooner rather than later. I can't think of anything else big in the past 2 months, but like I said, as we meet month to month, I'll either do a better job of remembering or do a little homework ahead of that. So do you guys have any questions for me or points to make or accusations?
I think it's wonderful that you're gonna try to get kind of nailed down what's the purpose and what's our path as this goes forward. I think that'll.
Yeah, probably should have happened already, but no time like the present.
Exactly.
So, and again, Jason's doing a great job, and again, just something that probably should be revisited, even if you're not growing, even if you're not having people not at, so, but all important since we have done all those things too.
Thanks for your information for us.
Can I say, so kind of going off of that, like, whenever we are like changing the face of the park, so like when we did the shade structure, we came to the Parks Commission and you guys like what our plan was, and you also agreed, like, yes, this was great. We did that with the pollinator patch too, since that was changing the park. When we did like the scoreboard, we didn't address that with the Parks Commission because that's already there and just changing it. So, like the ice rink, we didn't necessarily discuss because that's not a permanent structure. So that's what we do as well.
Alright. Any other comments or?
I had one thing I was gonna bring up. I heard from a resident, you know, we're Tree City USA, which we're very proud of. And I heard from a resident recently that was, brought to a few of us up here our attention about looking into what Monarch Pledge might involve. I don't know on the full details of this, but essentially my understanding is communities can commit to creating habitat for more friendly for monarchs and other pollinators, which are obviously struggling right now. So just, you know, trying to encourage residents how they can make a difference. The city of Johnston just had recently achieved this, I guess, certification, you could say. It's through the National Wildlife Federation. So it just got me thinking too, like I wanted to mention that, but also, you know, there might be other designations that make sense for our community. You know, I think a lot of people do live here because we're so close to a lot of great recreational and natural amenities, but we're growing too. So how can we balance growth, you know, which we want to do. We want to, you know, boost economic impact to our communities, but we also want to try to preserve those natural resources that we're all very passionate about. A lot of us moved here for. So I just wanted to bring that up and maybe ask if city staff look into, you know, another one I thought of was like bird friendly designated cities or things like that. So I guess just there's different options out there, you know, kind of in alignment with the Tree City USA that we're all very proud of. If there's other opportunities for city to take some of those into consideration. I don't know all the details and what reporting and all that are, but it might just be something to, when you're bored in your time, look into. I wanted to bring it up, so.
Sure, well, thank you.
With something like that, there's also I can't remember what exactly it's called, but like a bike community too. With the trail coming in here, we probably should look into that as well. And I don't know if that's a park thing or if that's a city thing, but
That's a good point too. I mean, some of these are like, they can boost tourism too. You
Right.
know, people visit a town if they,
it's
they're
like
really
bike
big bird
friendly,
watchers or whatever.
bike-friendly
so.
community, I think
Yeah.
it's called, or something like that.
I imagine that's on our mayor's radar. I will make sure. You said the Monarch Pledge.
Yes.
The Monarch Pledge. Okay. I will look into it more.
It's the mayor's Monarch Pledge. She'd emailed
Yeah,
me
the
as
mayor
well.
has to be the one to sign off on
Yeah,
it. But
and it basically, it's similar, it's a little similar to the Tree City USA where you have to designate a little budget and a little bit of people time and you commit to doing an event each year. You know, there's things you've pledged that you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
I'll definitely look into it. I'll look and I'll report back in a future meeting when I find it.
Anything else? Alright, well, need a motion to adjourn.
so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. See everybody